Conversation with David Dodd this morning, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. We're here to talk about something very serious, coronavirus, but I got to catch up with you, David, on this Indiana connection. You're in, where's South Carolina right now?
Beaufort, South Carolina.
Beaufort, South Carolina. Beautiful. But what's your connection to Indiana? You've been here before, huh?
Yes, Indiana, Pennsylvania. I visited. Lord, it was so many years ago. I was visiting Ford City, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
And relatives there. And I remember they told me one Sunday, we're going to go to this wonderful smorgasbord in Indiana. And I thought, boy, that's a long way. And I was probably like 12 years old. I'm thinking, we're going to drive forever for lunch? Well, we went to this restaurant that they liked a lot, obviously, in Indiana, Pennsylvania.
There you go. There you go. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, come on back. We still have lots of smorgasbords around these parts.
Yeah, it was a fun visit. Anyway.
Next time you're in the neighborhood. Okay, so let's get down to business here because you have the information for us that we really need to know. And the question is, we know that we're never going to get rid of coronavirus altogether because it just is not going to just disappear. Unless something drastic happens in the world of pharmaceuticals, and you're in the process of helping in that battle. But what is the latest on this new variant, and does it mean another surge is coming?
Well, the latest on, I assume you're speaking of Omicron BA2.
Yeah.
So we had BA1, now we have BA2, but I was just reading yesterday that in the UK, they're dealing with a combination. They call it a recombinant variant of all things, and it's a combination of BA1 and BA2. They're calling it XE of all things. But essentially what this is illustrating is the continuous evolution of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, or the virus that causes COVID-19. Mm-hmm. So it indeed does continue, as we now know, to evolve. And it's going to require us to do a number of things. One, we need vaccines that can get ahead of the virus and be able to encompass what could be emerging variants before they occur. My company, Geovacs, we're in clinical trials right now with such a vaccine that targets both the antibody immune system, which is what all the current vaccines do, the Pfizer, the Moderna, the J&J, but it also induces strong immune response through T cells or cellular immunity. And cellular immunity is what drives memory and durability in the immune system. Mm-hmm. And what we have done is structured a vaccine that uses various components rather than a single component of the virus. All the current vaccines only use one particular component. We actually involve or include or encode, I guess is our fancy word, various elements of it. And the intention is to be able to create an immune response that has a breadth that would encompass what emerging variants may become before they occur rather than chasing after them, which is what we're seeing a continuum of doing. So as I said, we've got clinical trials underway right now. They're going on. We're specifically looking at immune-compromised patients. So these are patients whose immune system has been virtually destroyed, either because of various cancer treatments or blood cancers from bone marrow transplantation, stem cell transplantation, et cetera, or they have inherent diseases that weaken their immune system, such as multiple sclerosis. And I'll just end by pointing out the General Colin Powell, who we all were disappointed to see him pass away last summer. He had been fully vaccinated with an mRNA vaccine, but he had been dealing with multiple myeloma. Mm-hmm. And the challenge to his system was he had a very weakened immune system, and he died from complications of COVID-19, even though he was fully vaccinated. There are 10 to 12 million people in the United States today who have such weakened immune systems that we are hoping to bring a vaccine forward that will benefit those individuals, because the big players are handling people who are generally healthy, who can get an immediate response and lessen the likelihood of them either going into the hospital or even dying. But this isn't true with with people with compromised immune systems.
David is the chairman and CEO of GeoVax. So what is the approach? Do you look for common elements that are in all coronaviruses, or the strongest of those elements in order to attack them at their base, at their foundation?
Well, it's an excellent question, and you're sort of touching on it. All of the current vaccines target a particular protein called the spike or the S protein, and that's the one to induce a strong, quick antibody response. But there are other elements or proteins within the virus. One is called the nucleocapsid or the N protein, and that is the most predominant viral antigen in all coronaviruses. So our current clinical trial, we have 2 clinical trials underway, and both of them use the same product, and it actually incorporates into the vaccine not only the S protein, but also the N protein. And the reason why is because, as I mentioned, it is the most predominant antigen of the virus in all coronaviruses. So what we're trying to do is to encompass it. And then, and within that, we're doing a direct comparison against the Pfizer vaccine among individuals who have had who have blood cancer, who've been treated with certain therapies such as bone marrow transplantation or this CAR T therapy that has essentially they have a weakened to a non-existent immune system, and we're doing a direct comparison in this clinical trial. We anticipate and hope to see that we'll show a more robust, more durable protection than what you're getting from the current authorized vaccines.
Now, did GeoVax pivot to approach coronavirus vaccine, or was this something that GeoVax was basically formed to in order to attack it?
Well, we've been around for many years, but the technology we have is the key to it, because the technology of mRNA will not allow you to encode or incorporate but one protein at a time. The same thing with the technology behind the J&J or even the AstraZeneca vaccine. So the technology we use is a technology that has been around. It's viewed as very safe. The FDA has exempted us from what is known as the animal toxicology testing. Basically, the requisite safety testing is because there are products on the market that use our technology, and it's known specifically for being exquisitely safe. So we have been utilizing this technology in years in developing Ebola vaccines and other types of vaccines. And the value of it is you're able to encode or incorporate multiple parts of a virus, which is the strength of it. And so that's what we have done. From day one, we started with what we refer to as a multi-antigen approach. So we have the product that is in the current clinical trials and advancing in 2 clinical trials, one in immunocompromised patients. The other, we're actually looking at our product as a better booster on top of the mRNA, or basically the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, because we believe it'll give a more robust, more durable booster than simply giving a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and who knows, maybe even a 10th shot before it's all over. So that's our approach. We started because this is a technology that we and others have sort of mastered the ability to understand, and within that we're able to bring these other elements of the virus in, and we believe from day one, without there being data, that more than likely this SARS-CoV-2 was going to be much more like influenza rather than like the original SARS, which came and went. And so we took the approach that's going to require a multi-antigen approach. It's going to require something that you're able to get ahead of the variants and not necessarily spending anywhere from 100 to 200 days trying to catch up, and then we're on to the next variant.
David Dodd is our guest. He is the chairman and CEO of GeoVax. David, here in Pennsylvania, we have this invasive insect called the spotted lanternfly. And the way that we monitor its development in quarantine counties is we wait for it to show up in one of those counties and then determine, okay, this needs to be added to the quarantine county. In essence, that's what we're doing with coronavirus, is we're waiting for it to show up in a place and then saying, okay, well, now it's here. Is that the best way to monitor the development of the virus or the spread of a virus, is by waiting for it to show up and then saying, okay, now it's here, and therefore those people have a special categorization?
Well, it's a challenge to be able to identify something, obviously, before it shows up. But we do know now, first of all, that the virus is going to continue to evolve. To what it will evolve, we don't know. But there is a very good early warning system, what is known as the National Wastewater Surveillance System, NWSS. It was implemented in September of 2020, so it's been around about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And what it's doing is it is sampling wastewater in communities throughout the United States. And by that sampling method and utilizing DNA testing techniques, it's able to be a much better early warning system. So we can't predict what will be happening, but the sooner we can be able to monitor and be able to evaluate what is going on. So this system is being utilized now by the CDC, driven by that, to be able to pick up the emergence of potential variants before we start getting sufficient reports to be worried about it. So that's what is being utilized right now. They have similar systems elsewhere around the world, the UK, et cetera, and that's where they're seeing what they're calling the recombinant variant, which is a combination of the BA1 of Omicron and the BA2. That's beginning to surface in the United Kingdom right now. But it's through these types of early warning. The earlier we can identify it, obviously, the more responsive in a timely manner we can be. But the real key is to have vaccines that are not just a single sort of element or antigen oriented. We need this multi-approach type thing, and that's why we're delighted to be in clinical trials right now and to be actively recruiting and enrolling and testing. And hopefully yet this year we'll have data that we'll be able to report on the results.
Well, we have that system here, the water plant monitoring system here, the wastewater in Indiana Borough, and it is fascinating to watch. David, I want to thank you for spending some time with us this morning. It's been fun.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
The Voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160 FM and AM 1160 FM.